The grilling on Capitol Hill today. America's top military leaders pressed on the chaotic and deadly withdrawal from Afghanistan and appearing to contradict President Biden when they revealed that their advice was to leave a small U.S. troop force in Afghanistan. President Biden telling George Stephanopoulos right here that no one said we should keep 2,500 troops. He said, "No one said that to me that I can recall." Tonight, we pressed the White House on that. It was a tense day on the Hill. Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, and Central Command Chief General Frank McKenzie appearing for the first time since the withdrawal. General Mark Milley testifying it was his opinion that some 2,500 troops should have remained in Afghanistan. General McKenzie saying he also agreed on a small U.S. presence. Secretary Austin acknowledging the intelligence failures over the course of many years when asked how that country collapsed to the Taliban in just 11 days. And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley, was also questioned about his calls with his counterpart in China during the final months of the Trump presidency in an effort to reassure China that President Trump and the U.S. were not planning any kind of attack. How he explained those calls. Our chief global affairs correspondent, Martha Raddatz, leading us off tonight.
Good morning.
It was an extraordinary moment. For the first time, the president's top military advisors publicly acknowledging they did not support pulling all U.S. troops out of Afghanistan and implying they conveyed their concerns to the commander-in-chief.
My assessment was back in the fall of 20, and it remained consistent throughout, that we should keep a steady state of 2,500, and it could bounce up to 3,500, maybe something like that.
Did you ever present that assessment personally to President Biden?
I don't discuss exactly what my conversations are with the sitting president in the Oval Office, but I can tell you what my personal opinion was, and I'm always candid.
That contradicts what President Biden told George Stephanopoulos just over a month ago.
So no one told, your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No one said that to me that I can recall.
The head of U.S. Central Command, General McKenzie, going even further, saying he had given warning about what would happen if we didn't leave 2,500 troops behind.
And my view is that 2,500 was an appropriate number to remain, and that if we went below that number, in fact, we would probably witness a collapse of the Afghan government and the Afghan military. So,
General McKenzie, I guess my question is, would it be fair for the committee to assume that both President Trump and President Biden received that specific information?
I believe it would be reasonable for the committee to assume that.
But the Pentagon and the intelligence community also feeling the heat today. All the leaders testified they were surprised by the swift surrender of the Afghan forces. The Secretary of Defense admitting intelligence failures.
We didn't fully comprehend the depth of corruption and poor leadership in the senior ranks.
Today, Chairman Milley also addressing reports that in the waning days of the Trump administration, he reached out to his Chinese counterpart to assure him the U.S. was not preparing to attack China. According to the book Peril, intelligence showed China was concerned because of escalating rhetoric from former President Trump. Milley testifying he was told to reach out to China by the Secretary of Defense.
I am certain that President Trump did not intend to attack the Chinese. And it is my directed responsibility, and it was my directed responsibility by the Secretary, to convey that intent to the Chinese.
Milley insisting everyone from the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to the White House Chief of Staff knew about this. And he pushed back on another story in the book that in a phone call with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi after the January 6th riot, he agreed with her assessment that Trump was crazy.
I'm not qualified to evaluate the mental fitness or the health of a former president, present president, or anybody else or anybody in this room. That's not my job. That's not what I do, and that's not what I did.
And Martha Raddatz with us live from Washington. Martha, we all watched today as Chairman Milley was also pressed about the danger in Afghanistan right now and whether that country could again become a safe haven for terrorists.
Exactly, David. And General Milley acknowledged that al-Qaeda is still operating in Afghanistan, saying a reconstituted al-Qaeda or ISIS with aspirations to attack the United States is a very real possibility. And he summed up our 20-year war, calling it a strategic failure. David?
All right, Martha Raddatz leading us off.